Hi, I'm Morgan Ringswaddle and I was part of the design team and head of playtesting for Springateer and Play a Lottle. I joined the group back in week 1 after Quinn's first presentation. The idea interested me not just because it looked like a fun game to make, but also because it seemed manageable in terms of a project that could be done over the year. I didn't have any particular special skills that I could go with, so I was really glad that I managed to get into my first choice of project with Quinn. It was great to get into a group and find that there were already a bunch of people that had the more specialized skills in art and programming.
Any particular experiences that stood out to you throughout the year?
Probably the most standout thing came from our first week of actual playtesting. We walked into it thinking that our game, we designed our controls with them being pretty intuitive in mind. We thought that people would sort of just get them, and then we had someone spend 10 minutes not able to move because we hadn't explained the controls in any way. We just assumed everybody would understand them because we'd spent already 7 months working with them. We thought they made sense, but they didn't. That was probably the biggest eye-opener of the entire year as well, of how we can't just assume that the players are going to understand anything. Everybody will have different experiences coming into the game. They won't always have played something that has similar controls.
You're responsible for level design. Did you have any experiences you want to talk about?
Level design was interesting, especially coming into the start of second semester after our prototype. We essentially decided to scrap everything that we had already made and start over. I ended up designing the majority of the levels now in the game. There was some help from Quinn and a bit from the programs as well in terms of what was actually doable, but it took longer than I thought it would, but at the same time, it was sort of faster than I expected. Doesn't really make sense, but I managed to get more level design done than I thought I'd be able to in the time that we had, I guess.
Did you have any difficulties designing the levels?
Sorting out what mechanics we were actually going to keep. There was a lot of things that we'd spoken about having in semester 1 of the year, in the first half of the project, but we ended up cutting probably over half of it, and then having to design around what was left and still make it as interesting as possible was a fun challenge for myself, actually.
Any challenges throughout the year in design, testing?
Challenges overall as the group would have been towards communication. I had a terrible habit of not speaking with the artists for long periods of time, just sort of assuming they'd have certain things done and then not really knowing what I'd have art-wise, which of course decide what the platforms were like for my levels that I was designing, and I should have been speaking with them a lot more than I was, making sure I knew what was going on, giving input on what I thought I would have needed. But it all got sorted out in the end, which was good.
Any standout moments from the year, like fun or painful or anything like that?
Actually, more communication stuff. Painful-wise was when suddenly builds would be broken. Like someone would push something without checking it properly or asking someone else to check it, and then when I'd go to show it to, say, Ross and Matt at a crit, it just wouldn't work how I was expecting it to. But that was something that never really lasted more than a day at any given time. It was always sorted out really quickly, which was always good.
Any entertaining moments? Or things that you remember fondly?
The first round of level design that we did back at the beginning of the year, when we all just got together in a group and we had a massive paper level set out. It spanned about 3 desks worth just a long strip of paper in which we drew up the level, had a bunch of cutout props, and just doing that first round level design, even though it ended up being completely scrapped by this stage, was really good. It gave an idea of what everybody's view of the game at the end was going to be. We were able to sort out so many issues just in that one session that it was, I honestly think it was probably our most productive single thing that we did.
Anything you changed from this year?
Probably some level design. I'm not entirely happy with how all of it turned out. Some of it feels slow, some of it and then the difficulty curve of it just at times feels like it spikes far too quickly. It goes from relatively simple things to far too challenging too quickly. And there was some major issues with one level that made it almost impossible for anybody that hadn't built it to be able to beat it, which meant that there were about 2 people out of everybody, including the group members, that could actually beat it. But overall, I'm happy with how this has turned out. It's the biggest thing I've ever worked on. And yeah, I'm proud of the work I managed to get done and everything we managed to build in the year.
Do you see yourself going forward with Springateer? Like, would you see yourself modifying it in the future?
Not if it was something I was going to be doing individually, but if other members of the group were going to be working on it, I'd probably come back and help work on it as well.